in today's political environment, the perception of Democrats and Republicans working together as a unified force against specific goals, such as those of President Trump, often stems from the establishment's desire for institutional stability. While the parties are deeply divided on many issues, they frequently align on maintaining the traditional functions of government, which can feel like bullying or gatekeeping to those who want to see radical change. I give you the primary reasons for this friction and why the judicial system often finds itself at odds with the president. 1. Protection of institutional norms and self-interest reasons for their own control power. They have no other reason except that we all follow the money. Many career politicians and government officials from both parties prioritize the stability of federal agencies and international alliances. When President Trump proposes sweeping changes, such as those outlined in his 2026 budget request, to cut funding for established programs in education, housing, and research, it triggers a defensive reaction from the establishment. This bipartisan resistance is often seen as an attempt to preserve a status quo that they believe defines the American dream, while supporters of the president see it as a deliberate effort to block his mandate. 2. The role of the independent judiciary. The friction with judges often comes down to the interpretation of executive power. Courts frequently rule against the administration, not necessarily out of personal bias, but because they believe the president is exceeding his constitutional authority. Recent examples include National Guard deployment. The Supreme Court recently sided with Illinois, ruling that the president cannot federalize a state's National Guard indefinitely without specific statutory authority. Executive orders. Judges often apply the Administrative Procedure Act, which requires the government to provide detailed justifications for policy changes. If a judge finds the reasoning arbitrary or capricious, they may block the policy, which can appear frivolous to those who want immediate action. 3. Economic and policy clashes. There is a growing divide between the president's America First policies and the views of many in Congress and the courts. Tariffs. While the president views tariffs as a tool for growth, 75% of Americans, including a majority of Republicans, believe they are raising prices. This creates a situation where even some members of his own party may work with Democrats to limit his economic power. Energy policy. The administration's push for new baseload power plants faces legal and legislative hurdles from advocates of renewable energy, leading to gridlock that feels like a coordinated attack on the president's vision. 4. Bipartisan legislation as gatekeeping. Sometimes the parties do work together on common sense bills, such as the Clear Path Act, which aims to limit foreign influence. While these are presented as protecting democracy, they can also be viewed as the political class creating new rules that make it harder for outsiders or the president's appointees to operate freely. I would like to give you some insight into specific court cases that have recently blocked President Trump's executive orders, so you can see the legal reasoning behind them. in today's political landscape. The friction between President Trump and the judicial system often boils down to a fundamental debate over the separation of powers, while supporters view these court rulings as an attempt by an establishment to block a popular mandate. Judges often frame their decisions as a defense of the Constitution's limits on executive authority. Here is an overview of the legal reasoning behind some of the most significant recent cases where courts have blocked the president's executive orders. 1. Reshaping election rules. Executive Order 14,248. In January 2026, a federal judge blocked core provisions of President Trump's March 2025 order that sought to impose national deadlines for mail-in ballots and require proof of citizenship for registration. The legal reasoning. Judge John H. Chun ruled that the Constitution grants the authority to regulate federal elections to Congress and the states, not the president. The court found that the president cannot unilaterally override state laws or strong-arm states by threatening to withhold federal funding for noncompliance. 2. Selective funding cuts. The blue state grant cancellations. The administration faced a major setback when it attempted to cancel $7.6 billion in clean energy and transportation grants previously appropriated by Congress. The legal reasoning. Judge Amit Mehta ruled that the administration violated the Equal Protection Clause. The court noted that the government admitted to targeting grants based on whether a state voted for the president's opponent in 2024, which the judge found to be an unconstitutional use of executive power to punish political rivals. 3. Rolling back diversity and inclusion. Early in 2025, the administration issued orders aimed at eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs within the federal government and among federal contractors. The legal reasoning. A federal judge in Maryland blocked these provisions, stating that the orders likely violated the First Amendment by seeking to punish individuals and institutions based on the content of their speech. The court argued that the government cannot use its purse strings to regulate its contractors' private viewpoints. 4. Federal workforce and collective bargaining. The president issued orders to strip a large portion of the federal workforce, including TSA agents, of their collective bargaining rights, citing national security. The legal reasoning. Judges have repeatedly halted these efforts, finding that the justifications provided were threadbare and retaliatory. Courts have emphasized that while the president has broad discretion, he must comply with the Civil Service Reform Act and cannot unilaterally dismantle negotiated union contracts without following statutory procedures. To the administration's supporters, these rulings often appear to be frivolous or politically motivated interventions. To the courts, they are seen as essential checks and balances to ensure that any president, regardless of party, operates within the laws written by Congress. Would you like me to look into the specific arguments the Department of Justice is using to appeal these decisions in the higher courts?